Saka's corner.
Yeah.
Saka's corner.
Beating the first man.
Mate, what about a free kick he took quick to Ben White? What are you doing, you dick?
Saka's
Could
corner.
have shot on goal.
Could have had a shot on goal.
Odegaard.
Do you think that
His left foot.
Here you go. I'll give it to the right back.
Do you think there's going to be some very,
bottled it.
very uncomfortable conversations for Bukayo Saka's England place?
I tweeted this. I said Palmer now replaces Saka. I don't want losers in my
Palmer
squad.
a right winger.
He can come narrow.
Yeah.
In big games, it doesn't matter because you come narrow.
Yeah.
When we don't have the ball, you can tuck into midfield. It's beautiful. Saka's burnt out as well.
Have you seen some of this though? Like, because what I hate on Twitter is, especially nowadays, like Arsenal fans always rushing to call someone world class, and then you see comparisons between like other players, and I just feel like they harm their own players more than they do them any good. We've seen comparisons between Foden and Saka and Palmer, all these different comparisons.
But
They're more harm than good.
But Phil Foden being compared to Bukayo Saka over the last 3 years, I don't think it's that wild, is it? Bukayo Saka, why?
Phil Foden's a different level of talent.
But his end product over the past 3 years.
I think it's like comparing Wayne Rooney to Ashley Young.
Yes.
No.
I genuinely believe that.
But Bukayo Saka's output is very comparable to Phil Foden's even this season.
But his ability is...
If we analyse how do we define output? The goals that are going into the back of the net. In what big games does Saka score big goals? We're talking Phil Foden is running the
he scored against Bayern Munich.
Can I at least finish this one?
Yeah, but you've asked me a question. He scored against Bayern
But you're going to give it a non-point.
It feels like I've answered the exact point.
No, you haven't.
You said
he
big
scored in
goals.
knockout stages of the Champions League against PSG, against Dortmund. He's run midfield in the Champions League final against Inter Milan.
Okay.
Saka hasn't reached those levels yet, has he? No
you
way.
just said, when has he scored a big goal? And I just said Bayern Munich, and you said it's a non-point.
Well, it is because you give me more. Give me more.
But it's not it's not a non-point.
Well, it's not a non-point in that. Look, of course, that's a big moment in his career. But I'm talking about Foden doing it for years to win league titles.
But then you brought up the point when you discussed him in that crunch moments in those games he didn't deliver. You could argue the team didn't deliver. Why are we putting all the pressure on him? But if people are going to call him this world-class talent or whatever they want to call him, then you got to deliver in those moments.
But Bukayo Saka, part of the reason that Arsenal have been so devastatingly good over 2 consecutive years, is the brilliance of Bukayo Saka. Like he's been their best player over 2 years.
What have they won in those 2 years? There's a point you often throw at Pochettino with Spurs, with all due respect.
Yeah.
What have they won?
They haven't won anything.
Do you want the chance to win £250,000? All you have to do is download Super 6 and you could be a whole lot richer, all for predicting some football scores. If you join our mini league as well, you got the chance to play against Pitchside in a huge game at the end of the season, and obviously some massive cash prizes along the way. Make sure you download Super 6. The link is down here somewhere. Do you really think they're in the same discussion?
No, look, don't get me wrong. If you ask me who do I think is a better player, I would say that Phil Foden is he's certainly a more aesthetically pleasing player. I think he's a sexier footballer. I think he's a better footballer. But I would also say that Bukayo Saka is undoubtedly comparable. He is undoubtedly delivering at a same rate. It's interesting because you've just given me a look. Like, it's very rare. Usually you'll swear at me, whereas you didn't there. You just gave me a look, which I think.
But we have to analyse what is the same rate, don't we? We do have to analyse what is the constitution of the goals that Saka is scoring. Yeah, one against Bayern Munich. He's had a good season this season, but he hasn't got anywhere near the evidence that we can say of multiple league titles, of a treble for Phil Foden, where he's directly involved in winning a treble. I honestly, I wish I wasn't involved as a City fan, because it's outrageous that he's even in the same discussion, in my opinion.
But I just think that Bukayo Saka has been doing it for 4 years to the top level. It's only this year that Phil Foden's realistically been in the starting lineup for Man City. He's
started a lot of games for City. This season in midfield is a good point.
In Man City's best, in Man City's best team, in Phil Foden's best position, he hasn't been playing. Bukayo Saka has been the first name on the team sheet for Arsenal and for England for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I don't think he made a big difference in the World Cup.
I don't understand why I'm making this fight for Bukayo Saka, because I don't particularly enjoy doing it. I just feel like I
just don't rate him as highly as other people do.
To compare Foden to Saka, it's not even.
I think you can look at the numbers and you say that, yeah, but I think when you look at the two players and you see their abilities and what they can do on the football, I think they're completely different. Like I said, you can compare maybe Bukayo Saka to Antonio Valencia, and that. He's never going to get you off the edge of your seat, really. He's efficient. He's a very good old school winger. But Phil Foden's got more talent in his little toe.
Foden's running games against Inter Milan, right? And we're talking about Saka, who can barely whip a ball in past the first man for a crunch moment in the Champions League against Bayern Munich.
It's a very distilled point, though, isn't it? Well, because you're highlighting one error from Bukayo Saka, and you're highlighting a Champions League final from Phil Foden.
Yeah, because it's the highest level of sport. No. Wayne Rooney scored in the Champions League final.
Really well against Man, but I think playing really well against Inter Milan in those circumstances is obviously very impressive. But I think we all know that Inter Milan were fairly flawed as well in that final.
Inter Milan were excellent in that final.
They were a very flawed team getting to that
Inter
final.
Milan are European Cup winners in their own right. They've got Phil Foden running it. It's the biggest game of his life.
When you look I mean, that Inter team had Andre Onana, it wasn't a particularly good team.
No, you're right about that. Of course you're right about that. But it begs the question, what else does Phil Foden have to do in his career to be distinguished above someone like Bukayo Saka?
I think he is seen as being above Bukayo Saka. I just think that as a comparison, when you look at the amount of goals and assists that Bukayo Saka is responsible for on a regular basis, he's been more consistent.
For a non-achieving side.
Who do you think Cole Palmer's closer to?
I think Cole Palmer has got a ceiling so much more reminiscent of Phil Foden. Those two could be in a whole different league. In a couple of years, we'll look back and think, how are we even talking about them? Bukayo Saka is a fantastic winger, but he doesn't influence games in the same way as those other two players.
So what do you think? You think Bukayo Saka is an excellent Premier League player? You think Phil Foden and Cole Palmer are effectively world-class potential superstars?
Foden's right now world-class, and Palmer's just behind because of age.
Yeah.
But I really think he's got the talent to be even better than Phil Foden, which is crazy.
Do you think Cole Palmer stays at Chelsea?
I've, like I said to you before, I think Cole Palmer ends up at Man United just because I think he's a Man United fan. And it'll be easier for him to make his way there now.
But if he Cole Palmer's
when I'm
talking about him leaving, if Man United are the team that's going to poach him, I'm not worried about him leaving.
And I think
he's not going to go for Man
United. I think when you look at where can you move,
you have to let that go.
No, it's not something that I'm saying because I want it to happen. Obviously, it's fantastic.
No, but being a United,
I just got a feeling that happened.
But being a United fan, that doesn't mean anything.
It means a lot.
You think Cole Palmer joins Man United?
I think if the opportunity came available, he goes to Man United.
The opportunity was probably was available, wasn't it?
Do you think City sell him to Man United?
I mean, City have done business with Arsenal.
Not a chance City sell him to Manchester.
But Manchester United, they don't consider them to be a rival. They don't consider them to be a rival.
No way.
Pep Guardiola has shown us time and time again.
If you genuinely believe, if Cole Palmer said, I want to go Man United, they sell him to Man United.
I don't really see it being a problem.
I'm not saying Man United,
if the money came in, the right money, I think we would.
Not a chance, bro. Man City don't do that. But anyway, forget that. We're getting lost in the point. I think Cole Palmer, there's going to be difficult to leave Chelsea unless someone's giving you big money. Like we saw with Raheem Sterling. The only places he could go were within the Premier League because that money that's circling around, you're not going to get the wages you want elsewhere. So I think Cole Palmer will probably be a key player for Chelsea for a long time. How would you rank them, lads?
I think it's really easy at the moment. If you do it like non-tribal, Bukayo Saka has to be one or two. Even if you believe that Palmer, which I do, even if you believe that Palmer this season has arguably been as good as anyone, the fact that there is a back catalogue of Saka and Foden brilliance for 4 years means that Palmer can't really compete. Is that fair or is that incorrect?
As we sit right now, Palmer's a better player than Saka. These are the facts. And what you're doing is completely fair as a football fan because I think you're being neutral and fair and balanced. We have seen 4 years of quality, but what Palmer's doing is beyond the joke, man.
I agree.
It's beyond the joke.
But is it not wrong for us? Is it not wrong for us to say...
Which we criticise Saka for.
His total play is out of this world.
I never criticise anyone for penalties.
The whole
I don't understand it. And I never
Chelsea
celebrate people for not
run
scoring
through this guy like Zola back in the 90s. It's all through him.
Yeah, you are right. But is it not
Saka
foolish?
couldn't do it.
You know, if a player just has a good 6 months, like it was stupid, wasn't it? You remember a few years ago when people were saying Edouard Mendy's the best goalkeeper in the league because he was the best goalkeeper in the league for a few months.
He's better than this, though, mate. He's that good.
I know. Yeah. But I just find it slightly.
Where would you be with? Okay,
no, we'd be 17th
with Saka.
Oh right, no. Okay, do you know where we'd
Palmer
be
for Saka right now?
Do you know where we'd be without Palmer's goals?
You wouldn't be in the semi-final.
17th.
Yeah. Does Saka make you better side then? If you could swap Palmer for Saka now,
Saka doesn't have the individual brilliance that we are so reliant upon.
Exactly, that's huge, man. You're a 2-time European Cup winning club. You're a huge club. The whole club runs through Cole Palmer.
Yeah,
that's pure talent.
Yeah,
that's pure talent. Look at Bellingham at Real Madrid.
But we're 8th.
Yeah, and that's because of a system around him that's failing.
Yeah.
Trust me, Saka's 3.
Whereas Arsenal are on for the league.
Saka's below the desk, lads. We can't even get a camera wide enough.
So if you were ranking, you go Saka, Palmer, Foden.
The hand's there. I don't know if we can get a cameraman. It's there. Saka, Palmer, Foden.
Adam?
When I think about who I would sign for my club, I go Foden, Palmer, Saka. I do agree with you in the sense that you could make an argument for Saka to be in the middle of the two right now. But me, personal preference, who I'd want to be playing for my team, I go Foden, Palmer, Saka. That's just me.